Hey everybody, it's Brian, the Archive Keeper here. I wanted to try out a face-to-face video where I had a little bit more chance to speak extemporaneously. And what I wanted to talk about today is the Gothic release, especially the Gothic release event that I went to. Share my experience there, both personally and sort of mechanically with the set. And I think of this as a little bit of like a video diary format almost, preserving kind of this moment in time, my thoughts in this moment for posterity, and hopefully they're edifying for you as well. So the story of me attending a Gothic release goes back several months. Actually, I booked tickets for a concert in Denver, funnily enough at the Gothic Theater in Denver for December 5th to see a band. And so when Eric's Curiosa announced that the release of Gothic was going to be on December 5th, I thought that was pretty funny and apropos, but it also means for me, as a guy whose nearest LGS is 2 hours away and nearest store with regular sorcery play is 6.5 hours away, that this was a really good opportunity for me to finally go to a sorcery event. So this was my first sanctioned in-person sorcery event. Prior to this, I had just played with my wife and a couple friends, a couple of magic converts that I was able to get to try out sorcery with me a few times. And I play regularly with my wife, but this was my first chance to play in an organized, structured tournament with other players. In sorcery, I've played in lots of both limited and constructed events in Magic the Gathering, but this was my first time in an organized event for sorcery. In anticipation of this, my wife and I, for the last few weeks, had been playing sealed with beta. We went through a whole beta booster box. We're able to do 3 sealed events with it so that we could both train up our limited skills a little bit for the event. So I found really the only store in Colorado that was holding release events for Gothic. And I had no idea what to expect at all. Didn't know anybody there. And so we got there and it was very encouraging, super friendly, super clean, super nice store. So I was encouraged out the gate that it was going to go well. The owner and tournament organizer got there and he was great. He did great at explaining the way everything was going to work. We got our packs. I opened them up. I will say, like, the kind of weird thing for me versus everybody else there had been playing with Gothic for a while. They had done pre-release events, and my struggle was, for me, it was my first time seeing 95% of these cards, and I was seeing a lot of mechanics for the first time. I was kind of piecing together some synergies on the fly for the first time, and in that context, 45 minutes for deck building was pretty rushed. So, normally with beta, I could throw together a deck in 10, 15 minutes even. I knew all the cards, knew all the archetypes, knew how to build, knew what to build, knew what to look for. But Gothic was just so new that 45 minutes was a stretch. I kind of got there. I sat down to round 1 with the time going, and I still needed to sleeve up my deck. And I hadn't had a lot of time. I didn't even have time to go through and really look at my mana curve. I could glance at it while I was glancing through the cards, but I didn't have time to sort them into piles and see what my mana curve looked like I would normally like to in a limited setting. But so I was sleeving up this sort of hastily prepared deck. My first round opponent was incredibly gracious about it. He was super patient, said, it's not going to be an issue. Luckily, it wasn't. We finished way before the round went to time. And he was a great guy. He was really fun to play against. He even brought a little bag of baked goodies that his wife had made that he shared with all of his opponents at the tournament. So that was a nice treat. And even, just, I guess, going back a little bit, before the tournament, everyone was really friendly, despite the fact that, they have all kind of been playing sorcery with each other every week, more or less, for months, if not years at this point. And I was a newcomer. My wife and I both newcomers. So we both entered the tournament, and but we were treated really well by everyone there. It was one of the most welcoming environments I've ever been to, especially compared to a decade and a half of Magic tournaments for me, where it wasn't always as friendly. This was a really, really nice change of pace, and I attribute a lot of that to the fact that you really have to go out of your way at this point, at this stage in 2025, to like and play sorcery. It has to be something you're incredibly passionate about, and passionate people are just more interesting and more exciting to be around. So round one, great time, got done before rounds, no problems. So I'm now going into round two. I do change up my deck a little bit. I get a little more time before round two to look at it and make a few changes. Still a little unsure what I'm doing. I go into round two, and also a blast. One of the best guys I've ever played against, just in terms of, temperament, attitude. We had a great time talking. He was very new. He had only been playing sorcery 2 or 3 months, he said, and this was his first card game, which is pretty uncommon, I'd say, for sorcerers. So despite that, he was well versed in not just the rules of sorcery, but kind of a lot of card game shorthand and stuff that we're all used to. He knew to present his deck for cuts. He knew all kinds of things that I wouldn't necessarily expect somebody who's only been playing for 2 or 3 months to know. And beyond that, he was incredibly patient and gracious with rules. There were some things, I guess for one example, he thought, and everybody's got some misconception, especially when they're starting out 2-3 months in. You're going to have some misconceptions about sorcery. The rules are not complicated, but they are a lot of fun. He had dealt one of my 3 power creatures 2 damage, and he mistakenly thought that because my 3 power creature had taken 2 damage, it would only deal 1 damage in its next attack, because he thought that its power had been reduced to 1. And I kind of explained to him that's not quite how it works. He has taken 2 damage. He has 2 damage marked until end of turn, but he is still a 3 power creature and will still deal 3 damage when you attack him with your second minion. And I know a lot of people, I've seen either firsthand or secondhand at a lot of Magic events where a conversation like that kind of sends somebody into a spiral, a bad mood. They call for a judge. And not only did none of that happen, but none of that, as far as I could see, happened in the tournament at all. We had 17 players, so one person did have a bye every round. But everywhere I saw, left and right of me, behind me, everybody was having a great time. Everybody was allowing take-backs, and everybody was, it really felt like everybody there was prioritizing fun over competitiveness and winning, which I really feel like is the spirit of like a pre-release or a release event like that. We're all there to experience the joy of these new cards and playing with them for the first time, and getting a real sense of that from everybody that I played against and everybody that I watched play was incredibly special. There really were no sore losers, no egos, no big flare-ups. There was a guy at the end of round 2, maybe it was the end of round 3, who got up after a tough loss and jokingly said, "I quit. I'm done. I'm selling all my cards." But that's everybody had a good chuckle, and I think I don't think it's a good tournament until you have a veteran who claims to be quitting and selling out of the game. So then going into round 3, also had an excellent, incredibly gracious opponent. I made a couple play mistakes that he absolutely insisted I take back, even though he really didn't have to, and I made the mistakes, and I was prepared to suffer the consequences. So I did. We got to, I was on death's door when we got to time. The game wasn't over yet, and so I made the offer to him. I said, "Hey, can I just concede now? And I'd rather use this time if you're okay with it. I'd like feedback on the deck I built out of my sealed pool. Would you be willing to look at my deck and look at my sealed pool and tell me what I should have built differently?" And yeah, he was more than willing. He was happy to, and he looked through and he said, "Here's the cards you should take out and why, and here's the cards I would have put in and why." And then we kind of had a back and forth, and I said, "Well, here's what I was thinking when I built it. Why am I wrong?" And then he patiently explained it to me. And so I, between that and between seeing new decks and talking to people in between rounds, before and after rounds, about decks they had homebrewed. My first round opponent told me about a homebrew Scourge Zombies deck that he really loved and everybody really loved. And between that and feedback from, say, my third round opponent, who after the game kind of took me back a few steps and walked me through where I could have played better, and some strategies I could have approached differently. So I felt like, not only did I leave the tournament that night feeling more than ever a part of the sorcery community, I also left feeling like twice the sorcery player I was before. And I'm not very spiky as a card player in general. I guess I'm the most spiky and limited, maybe because it's what I enjoy the most. But I'm not super spiky, so usually I'm not chasing after like a competitive edge. But with this, it felt different. It felt really good to get a lot better at the game and to win some rounds and to feel like I was getting good. So that's kind of I guess, the personal, emotional side of the evening. I'll take a minute to talk about my thoughts about the set and how it played in Limited. Now, granted, it's a massive set, and I saw very little of it. Even between my decks and my opponent's decks, there are still Gothic cards. It's now the 11th, and I know I have not seen every card in Gothic. Which I guess I meant to say this at the beginning of the video. For some context as to my perspective, I would call myself kind of a hardcore casual when it comes to really almost anything, but definitely trading card games. I'm very invested in the games. I like to spend a lot of time studying and thinking and admiring and really immersing myself in a community, in a card game, in the lore, in the art. And Sorcery is a great game to do that with. But like I kind of just said, I've never been super spiky, and so I kind of commit to that hardcore casual title, and so that's my perspective when I'm talking about what I thought the limited play was like for the set. That's kind of where I'm coming from. That's my point of view. So I really liked the limited for Gothic. I felt like because my number one criteria, even above, because I like combos, I like synergies for sure, but I felt like even better than that, what Gothic did super well was what Gothic did even better than that was flavor. The flavor was out of this world, and you had the synergies weren't just mechanical; they were also flavorful to a degree and a depth that I don't think other card games have been for a long time. It definitely reminded me of the themes and the tribes from when I first started playing Magic the Gathering 15 years ago, except in an even better way, done to a better degree. If you wanted to build a deck, for example, around pumping out one power skeletons, have a necromancer deck, there were so many things thematically and mechanically that synergized with that, and you really felt like you were playing some kind of skeletal hordes leader, banner carrier, as an avatar. And so as a lore win, as a flavor win, Gothic, huge. And then also, mechanically, synergistically, a lot of the cards were really, really interesting to play with. I had, in my pool, I got the unique, excuse me if I mispronounce this, Pied Piper of Hameln. And I saw it and I thought, man, that's really neat. And there's a lot of one power creatures. I, at the time, did not actually, think about how much it would hose a necromancer deck. And so that was kind of second round. I got to play the Pied Piper at I top decked it at the exact right moment. I was able to play it. I was able to take control of five undead skeletons, and those 5 skeletons more or less won me that game. So the play and counterplay, both the synergies and I guess the anti-synergies, are all really interesting, really powerful, and really flavorful and thematic. So I'm really looking forward to playing more Gothic Limited. I want to play more Sealed. I definitely want to draft. It's just a blast, and so I need some more booster boxes for sure to get after that goal. So that's really everything I wanted to say. Just document a little bit my personal experience, and then document my thoughts mechanically and stylistically on the set. I hope you all found this interesting, and I'll see you next time. I'm working on a couple video essays. I guess if you watch this far into the video, I'll give you a preview on my next 2 video essays, which are at various stages of doneness. The first one is about the it's called something about the anatomy of a pack. And so the idea is it talks about why I like the layout of a sorcery pack, having the exceptionals first, and then your elite or unique, and then the ordinaries after that, but still having a chance of a curio. So I have, I think, kind of a lot of interesting things to say about the anatomy of the sorcery pack, especially as it relates to Magic, as it relates to other card games. And so I kind of take a minute to triangulate how where the anatomy, or how the anatomy of a sorcery pack fits into the bigger TCG landscape, and why I think the sorcery pack layout is great, both for entertainment of opening packs and for limited events. And then the second video is about the future of a local game store, kind of where it's going, the challenges it's facing, and the challenges that continue to put pressure on it, and what I think game stores should or need to try and transition into. So those are the next 2 upcoming videos. Might get more gameplay videos up soon as well. If you're interested with the new Gothic cards, I need to modify all of my decks to make them 60, 30, 10. If you haven't, take some time to do that this weekend, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.